Okay. Can you tell me your name and when you were born and where you were born?
Yes, my name is Jean Stubbs, now Stilgo. I was born at, I think it was 2 back of 24 Rupert Street.
That's right.
Which came under the district of Nechells. Later on, I think I was about 3, we moved to a back-to-back house again, which was in Heneage Street, 227 Heneage Street. There was 2 bedrooms. Well, one was a bedroom, one was an attic. Obviously, we was a big family. We was poor, but I don't think many people in those days were any better off than what we were. Our blankets on the beds, jokingly, had got sleeves in. I don't know whether you've heard that expression. They were army overcoats. Not many people had blankets with sleeves in, so we were fortunate. There was 4 to a bed, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. At times we got no running water. We used to have to walk to a place called Holt Street, which was about half an hour away, with buckets, kettles and that to get water. As you walked into the house, you got an old coal fire with a kettle on, always a kettle or a pot brewing. There's a little scullery with a sink in, and then you got the cellar for the coal and everything. You got gas mantles, which were fitted on the wall with a little. We got them. When they broke, you used to have to go to Windsor Street, which was another good walk to get replacement mantles. Bedrooms had got no gas, no electric at all. So when we went to bed, we had to take a candle and a bucket. The candle to see and the bucket to pee. Last one up, which was always, you know, I'll get up first, because the last one up always had to bring the bucket down, obviously, which wasn't a very pleasant job. And then you've got to go out in the street, walk up the entry, across the yard to the toilet, which was like a wooden, I don't know whether you've seen them, a wooden toilet, which was shared by 3 or 4 families, to be emptied. That was your job, and then it had all got to be washed out and everything ready for the next night. What else is there? There's a brew house up the yard, the entry. That was shared by 2-3 families, and you got your allocated day for using that brew house. When it was Mum's turn, obviously the other neighbours used to come in, and she did the same when it was them, and have a bucket of hot soap suds off her, and that was to scrub the step and scrub the table. We didn't have tablecloths in those days, you couldn't afford tablecloths. But saying that, the table was absolutely, well, it was as white as snow, the way it was scrubbed. It was beautiful. And the step, you wouldn't see, the kids had perhaps got no shoes on the feet or whatever, but the step was still absolutely gorgeous, you know, spotless and all that, so that was that. Wasn't much as regards the food and that, but we got there. And the toilet, of course toilet rolls wasn't about, couldn't afford them, could we? So it was newspaper. Nice and soft if you ruffled it in your hands. I suppose we all have black bums at the end of the day. Never thought about that. But that was put on nails in the toilet on a bit of string and then hung up. That was your toilet paper. We only had a bath once a week, and that was with a tin bath which hung up the yard on a nail. That was fetched in on the Saturday. The first one in was lucky because they had the best water, obviously, and then it went through till we'd all had the bath. But as you got older, Mum managed Threepence for two of you at a time to go and have a public bath, which was Threepence, so you shared the bath one each end, like. And we used to have the bath of a Saturday night, as I say, out of the bath. Then Mum would put a black pinner on her lap, and she'd delice your head if you'd got nits. Fortunately, we didn't get them. We were very good for that. She used to get the Durback soap and Durback comb and do all that, so that was our treat of a Saturday night. If she got a sweet, you know, she gave us a sweet if we'd been good and that like, so that was that. Oh, and like the old saying goes, people have said to us, I bet you all stunk when you were kids. And like we said, we all must have stunk to hell, but we all must have stunk the same because nobody complained. You know, we were all in the same boat, and I've got to admit that as kids, we were all very, very happy. You know, there was none of this fallout that you get today, and neighbours was there for each other, you know, which was nice. So, oh, and the doctors. You couldn't go to the doctors very often. Your mother used to do a lot of the old remedies. Well, my mum did a lot of old remedies because obviously they hadn't got the money to pay the doctor to see you.
Can you remember any of the remedies?
Blackjack. If you'd fallen over and got a bruise or anything, she swore by blackjack. If you got a chest infection, it was Kaolin poultice. She swore by Kaolin poultice. I can't think of them. Oh, if you got a headache, she used to draw the curtains, soak a rag in vinegar, and put that across your forehead. It does work. Can you think? Can't think.
That's all right. That's
No.
fine.
And then, with the house, going back to the house, there must have been something in the plaster in the houses in those days because everybody got bugs. As kids, when we went to bed with a candle, we used to see who could chase them up the wall, you know, with the candle like. And once a week, Mum used to strip the bed, and then it was some form of DDT or something like that. She used to paint all the springs and everything with it to keep the bugs and everything at bay. And then the pillars and that, they were all put in a big barrel, and she used to do all them and wash them, and then we used to have to put them all back in. That was for the bed. So we had no water. Oh, that was, and then just after the war, as I said, we'd got nothing, and it was back-to-back houses, and all families all lived together then because they used to do moonlight flits. If they knew the agent was coming round and they hadn't got the rent to pay, they used to skip it, you know, and somebody else would move into their house. Well, they were all close community. We never did it, fortunately, but it was a close community. But we lived in the front of the row of houses. Mum's sister lived in the back, and during the war they knocked a brick out in the cellar so they could talk to each other during the war, like. Gran lived up the entry. She used to come up to us. Mum's brother lived the other side of the entry. Then there was a row of terraced houses. Mum's brother lived up there. Her sister lived up there. So that was all them. and as I said, where I was born, it was by the gasworks, so our view was beautiful green fields, which was gasometers, because I don't know what, that was all we got to view. No green fields at all, just jossing. That was that. And for the coal, coke, we didn't have coal, couldn't afford coal. We used to have coke and used to have to get an old pram and go down to Windsor Street, which was known, and buy a hundredweight was it? 100 of coke for the fires, and to earn a bob or two. I've done it many a time, to earn threepence. Gone and fetch 100 for the neighbours, myself threepence, like, you know, which was a lot of money in them days. I can remember the mums using an old clothesline and coming outside with us and playing skipping with all the kids in the street. All the mums did. They were wonderful. Play tip can with us, you know, with the old cans and that. Oh, and I don't know whether you know that dustbins, they was known as miskins. Oh, that's a Brummagem saying. Dustbin was known as a miskin, and the drains and the gutters was drains in the edgings of the road was softs and gutters. And if you're talking to anybody in my generation now, they'll say, do you remember the miskins and the softs and gutters? That was them. Oh, and when we was at school, we all had free milk, so I didn't, because I'd never liked milk, so I used to give that to somebody else. And if you were less fortunate, obviously some had free dinners as well, and some as well had Daily Mail clothes, which was a shame if you had Daily Mail clothes, because everybody knew that you got Daily Mail clothes, because you used to have to go, I think it was a police station, I don't really know. I think it was a police station. You'd be rigged out in your clothes when you got to school. All those that had been to the Daily Mail place were all dressed the same. So the kids used to chant a little bit, but it wasn't nasty, I don't think, you know, but that was one of the bad things. That's it, I think, Helen.
Jean, can you tell me a little bit about your family who lived in the house when you were growing up? So who was in your family?
How many?
Yeah, and who they were.
There was 9 of us. Mum lost one child during the war, so there was 10 of us originally. She lost one during an air raid. My eldest brother, obviously because we were so overcrowded, Grandma took to him, and he was known as Granny Reared, which was done in those days. I think every family had one child which was Granny Reared to ease the burden for the mum. My other 4, they were evacuated during the war. I was evacuated for 3 weeks? For 3 weeks. Mum took me for 3 weeks, but she came back. That was it. The ones that were evacuated, they all came back after the war, but my one brother, he stayed there, which was Leicester. He stayed there, he met his girlfriend, he went in the forces, he married her, and he spent the rest of his life there, and he died 3 years ago. So, and he was 83 when he died, so that was it. We all had to go to Sunday school, which was the Salvation Army. Mum was very, very, well, most families in that era and that area were very, very Salvation Army minded. We had to go to Salvation Army. They were very, very good to all of us. Not just my family, but to all the children in that area. They provided a lot for us. They were very, very good. But our church was St Matthew's Church, which was Great Leicester Street. We did go to church, but we had to go to Sunday school, whether you wanted to or not. You know, you'd got to go to Sunday school. I think that was it. Oh, the schools, we went to St Matthew's Church of England School, which was Lupin Street. From there, we went to Bloomsbury Secondary Modern School, which was Duddiston. That was it. We left that area when I was 14, which is a few years ago now. A few years ago.
Could you tell me, Jean, what your mum and dad did for work while you were a child?
My mum was a very, very hard-working mum. She was a mum in a million. She really was. She took to 4 children, so really what I'm saying is there should have been 14 of us. When she got married, obviously she married a man a lot older than herself, and he got 4 children. She took to those 4 children. They were grown up when we were living in Heneage Street, and Dad, he was a stoke worker at the Coke, so this was how come we were well off for coal. We never ever went cold because Dad was a stoker at the gasworks. He was an engineer, so he got us our coal. Mum, as I said, was a hard worker. She did 3 jobs. She was up at 3 and 5 o'clock of the morning doing work so that she could be at home for us children, and we got up every morning to a fire and porridge on like a thing hanging over the fire, porridge. Every morning we got up to that. She was there for us after doing those 3 jobs from 3 o'clock in the morning. So she was one in a million. And the 4 children that she took to, their children have said, you know, without Mum, they would never have been here, because their parents have told them that their grandmother, because she died, their mother died in childbirth. So the one that Mum took to was only 3 months old, and she died in childbirth, and their grandmother had said that the dad had got to have them all put in an orphanage. But my mum said, no, I'm marrying you, I take on the children as well. And she took on the 4 children, and their children and their children's children are still in contact with us to this day. Yeah.
That's lovely. Jean, can you tell me how you spent some of your spare time out of school while you were growing up?
I used to go to a club called Curl Hall, which was by Woodcock Street Swimming Baths. I think it was known as the Olympic Swimming Baths of the Midlands. It was a fantastic bath. It was a fantastic baths. Everybody used to go there because it was so nice. Salvation Army, again, they used to do youth organisations, things like that. We got to go to them. Any clubs that was about, we had to go. There used to be a club at Loxton Street School, which was a boys' school, but of an evening it was open for youth activities, etc. Used to do all those. And then, as I said, parents used to play with us some evenings. We used to get old lines, throw them around the gas lights in the street, make swings out of them, till the coppers come and we'd run a mile. Because in those days you were afraid of the police, not like today. Obviously you were afraid of the police because you knew you were doing wrong. We used to play, try and naughty, I know, but we used to tie string to the knockers of other people's houses and run. I was good, really. Tin can.
Can you explain that to me?
Tin can. Old bean tins, any kind of tins, you stacked them up, and then you got a ball and you threw them at the cans, and you got to try and knock them down and score that. Another game was guess the film star. One would stand out front, and a line of you would all be in the front, and they'd give you a clue, a name, and then you got to, if you guessed one of the letters right, you done one step forward till eventually you got the film star's name. Knock it and run, which was the same as tying the... That was it, I think. Anything that was games, entertainment or anything. We used to go to the Saturday Crush. That's Picture House. There again, we used to have to be sprayed. As kids, we thought they were spraying perfume over us, but they were debugging us. I mean, we used to go, Thames used to have to spend hours in the queues, didn't you? Hours in the queues, in this Threepenny Crush. And when you went in halfway through, they'd come round and, you know, and we used, oh, isn't this nice, you know? And we thought it was wonderful, we really did. And it wasn't until we'd grown up that we realised that they were debugging us. I think that's it.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your primary school? Anything you can remember? Any stories or what it was like?
It was a religious school. It was a religious school. It was only a very, very small school, quite cramped, very small. I had the cane a couple of 3 times because the discipline was so very, very strict. And the last year you used to have to go, it was off the assembly hall, you used to have to go upstairs to this particular classroom, and you sat 2 at a desk. The desks were all in rows with the inkwells, etc. And the teacher used to walk up with his ruler, and if you were doing anything wrong, you know, your knuckles was rapped and done. But as regards teaching, it was excellent. He used to, knowing that we got no country, you know, we didn't know what the country was, we didn't have holidays, we couldn't afford holidays. He used to bring plants in and, you know, show us plants and try and bring the country to us, which was very good. The education was good. As I said, it was religious, but it was very good. And we used to do a lot of sports to try and get us all mixing and, you know, doing that sort of thing. So that was that. We didn't have school outings. Obviously, they couldn't afford them. No playing fields. So we used to take us on a double-decker bus and we used to go to Burnley Lane, which was known as a sports ground then, and that was where you used to do your sports days against all the other schools. So that was that.
Okay. And can you tell me which senior school you went to and what that was like?
Bloomsbury Street. That again was very good. When you first started, obviously you were all from different schools. So on your first day you all had what they called an intelligence test to see what grade you were going in and all that. I did very well for that, fortunately. So the school I went to before, St Matthew's, as I said, was very, very strict but very good. That was very good. All my family all went there, all my sisters, and they all did very well indeed. We did sewing. We did cookery, but before you could do cookery, you've got to make your own cookery cap and apron. If you didn't make your cookery cap and apron, you couldn't do your cookery. And then they got their own little room where you used to have to do housewifery, and that was for you to learn how to do housework and ironing and cooking, washing, everything. But if you hadn't got your cap and apron, you could not do it. That was a little bit religious. You had to do your RE of the morning, but it wasn't so much as the Church of England school was. That's it.
And what did you do when you left school?
What did I do? I went into dressmaking. Stuck it for a little while.
So can you tell me where you went? What, you know, was it a company you worked with, or?
No, it was just a small Edwards, I think it was called. Can't be sure.
Yes.
Was he? Yeah. Edwards. It was just a small place for dressmaking. Didn't do too good because being my age, and you know how you are, you're a little bit stroppy. I thought they were all foddies who I was with. So I let them get the better of me, really, didn't I? You know, I was the youngest one there, and I always felt that they were picking on me, and you know how you are, you're a little bit at that age, aren't you, you know, so...
Bullshit.
Yeah. So I gave that up, and I went and worked in a shop, a vegetable shop. No, it was a paper shop first. That was where I met my husband.
Right, I was going to come to that.
Yeah, that was the first. No, that was my second, wasn't it?
What husband?
No.
Hang on.
The shop first, which was all right. That was where I met my husband, who he walked in, and I was stood talking to one of the other assistants. He was in the forces, and he was quite put out, wanted to know what he had to do to get some attention in this shop or to be served. So we didn't hit it off, as you can imagine, on first meetings. Do you want to know how I met him?
Yes, please.
And then my friend and I was out, we'd been to a cinema, I believe, and we were walking up the road the one day, one evening.
Okay.
My friend and I were walking home, we'd been to the cinema, and we walked past these two boys, men then I suppose, and unbeknown to me, the one was my husband, who is now, and he said to his brother, "I'm going to get a date with her." So his brother said, "You don't want to go out with her, look at her fat legs." He said, and anyway, the next day he came in the shop and he did ask me for the date, and that was how we met. We went to the cinema again. We came out of the cinema and he turned around and he said, "Do you mind if we run and get this bus?" He said, "Only I've got to be back in the forces. He got 24-hour leave, so he got to be back." So it was quick rush, like, you know, but that was how we met. Yeah, and his brother, up until he died, still joked about my fat legs.
So when you first married, where were you living?
The Meadway. Do you know where the Meadway
Yeah.
is? I lived in the Meadway. Tom lived in Kelly Mead Road. And we'd been together 2 years when we got married, because obviously Tom was in the forces. We got married at Yardley Old Church. We had 8 bridesmaids. In those days, which was in 1960, the dads had to do the beer. So, of course, they had to go and tap the barrels, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, both dads was a little bit tipsy before the start of the wedding, because tapping the barrels, etc. And my mum, it was a tradition in my family, I don't know whether every family did it, but my family, that my mum and dad bought each girl's wedding dress. That was their thing, like, so they bought my wedding dress. And We had a big room at a school. We had a band, proper band, and we did all the catering. We didn't do it, but friends did all the catering for us. We didn't have honeymoon. We lived with Mum for a bit, and Tom said, "Do you want a honeymoon or furniture?" We couldn't afford both. So I said, well, I'd soon have some furniture of my own. So that was our honeymoon. That was it.
And when was it that you first moved to Chelmsley Wood together then?
69.
Okay, can you tell me how that came about?
Yeah, we was living in a flat, and the council, I don't know whether it was through the government or whether it was Birmingham Council had arranged it or what, but it went on the man's wages because there wasn't many women worked in those days. It went on the man's wages, and they built this house now that we're living in. All these was built just to purchase. They'd never ever been a rented house. They built so many which was just for purchase, and it was the large sum of £5 deposit, and the price of the house was 2,350, and they went on Tom's earnings, and the mortgage was £33 a week, and we all moved in together. I said there was Albert, Chris, who's still here now, and we were all struggling to pay this £33, a month for the mortgage and that. So we used to have Saturday night, we used to try and get together in each other's house so that we'd have a bit of a social night and things like that. And the kids, we'd all got children. Well, I only had one. So we knew that if we wasn't about, we were at the shops or anything, they could come and knock any of our doors and be, "Oh, Auntie Chris, Auntie Jean, Mum's not in," and we give them something to eat, a drink and that. It was absolutely lovely. And the estate was done as an overspill. It was beautiful when it was the Bluebell Woods. Tom used to come as a child because he's always lived in Kellymead Road. He's never lived in the back houses. And bottle of water, was it?
Yeah.
Bottle of water and sandwiches, and that was his day out. His mum used to pack him and his brothers and sisters, pack your bags with your sandwiches. I suppose they're only jam or fish paste, but pack your sandwiches, your bottle of water, come on off to Chelmsley Wood, to the field. And sometimes they had to walk, which was a good walk, or another time, if she was a bit flush, she'd give them the train fare and they had to walk from Marston Green. When we first came on the wood, it was Midland Red Bus. I think it was every hour. There was no doctors. It was a house over on Greenland Road. The house is still there now, but it's rented. And it was Dr. Pomeroy, Dr. Bent, well, Mr. and Mrs. Bent, and Dr. Allen, Dr. Dawson. They were the doctors that run it. There was no welfare there then, no dentist, and I think it was in the 70s that the dentist was built, and the Child Health Centre, I stand to be corrected on the Child Health Centre. Dr. Pomeroy and Dr. Allen had that building built, and Mr. Metcalfe had the dentist built, and obviously the council had the Child Health built. This school had just been finished. It was just an infant and junior school. There was no nursery or anything then. And the headmistress' name was Miss Allen. The deputy head was Mrs. McLean. They were very good. They were excellent teachers, and the kids did very well from there. The town centre wasn't complete. No, that wasn't complete at all. And when we moved into these houses, there was no fencing. All you got was like a concrete post. Well, no, it was a wooden post with 2 pieces of wire running through. That was what was dividing them. There's no slabs or nothing. It was all just mud and what have you. And same with the roads. The centre wasn't done, as I say. That was it, wasn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. None of the shops, no. Yeah, that was it.
What were your very first impressions of Chelmsley Wood when you moved here?
As an estate, it was quite nice. The town, when they did the town centre and everything, you got Sainsbury's, you got George Mason's, you got the Co-op, you got all the big stores, carpet stores, furniture stores. It was nice, you know. They were catering for the demand that was there then. They were doing it well, trying to do it well. And then over the years, they've just let it slip, I think. But it was nice when you first came. It's just changed drastically. And I think they seem to cater for the children better then, you know, because they got the green to play on and things like that. They built, can't think of the Alder Hall. They built the hall, they did Crabtree Hall. And they used to put things on for the kids and that to go to, so they did cater, whereas I don't think there is anything to do. Not having any children now, I don't really know, so that's it.
You talked a little bit about the people that you got to know. Did it feel very much a community at the time?
When we first moved here, it was. Yes, when we first moved here, because they'd see you in the drive, and as I said, we were all in the same boat. We were all struggling with the mortgage. So we just got to know each other, and we used to help each other. It was really good. As I said, we did the Jubilee party. There was the 4 of us out to this drive, and we did the complete length of the road when collecting. And we hired the school out. The caretaker was absolutely brilliant to us. And we had the food and everything in there. Then we did the sports. We had the fields. He let us have the fields for the sports and all that. And then when it came evening, the children were put to bed, minders, etc. And we put tarpaulin from garage to garage. The one man, he was West Indian, he was fantastic. He opened his garage for all the booze and what have you, and record players, and we had a ding-dong in the drive. It was absolutely wonderful, it really was, yeah.
How do you feel about Chelmsley Wood now, living in Chelmsley Wood now?
I don't at all. I think going to compare this estate now with Castlevale. I went to Castlevale 3 weeks ago, and I was absolutely shocked at how nice it is now. You look at Chelmsley Wood, to me it's a slum now. I feel as I'm going back in history, looking at Chelmsley Wood now.
Is that the town centre you're talking about, or are you talking about all of it?
When you look round, I mean, people are abusing the grass verges, aren't they? You know, and they're not looking after the estate, are they? Really, this is how I feel personally. And I've spoke to 1 or 2 people, my generation, who've said the same. It's not like it used to be.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. Like they're shutting the schools down now, aren't they? few years' time, they'll be having to build them again, won't they? You know, this is what happened before, wasn't it? You know, with the schools. Unfortunately, the kids are going to suffer again, aren't they? So, that's it. The doctors, you know, if they can do better, let's hope.
Well, let's hope when they do the stuff around the church building,
Yeah,
when that's all finished, because the new school looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah. It was a good school because I was in the school kitchen there.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't talk about work in Chelmsley, actually.
I was in the school kitchen for 2 years. And then from there I was I was caretaker of the Child Health Centre. Yeah. Used to have quite a lot of contact with the doctors that then. It was nice then. And the health visitors. One health visitor still comes regular to see us now. And the doctors, I don't know whether they still do, but over Christmas, the Friday before Christmas, after surgery, it was closed and it was one big party for all the staff and everything, you know. And the Child Health Centre used to have a play group. They used to have family planning. They used to have the Red Cross. They run a group for youngsters and elderly. They had a mental group. That's not the right word, is it?
Mental health.
Yeah, I suppose that would sound better, wouldn't it? Yeah. They had a group for them. They did quite a bit, the Child Health Centre then, but I don't think they do anything now. I don't know.